Inday Sara na hindi may paliwanag. Magpangalan kayo ng mga property. Magpangalan kayo ng mga mansyon. Magpangalan kayo ng mga establishment para sasabihin po ninyo na ito ay ill-gotten wealth na may kinalaman sa kay Vice President Inday Sara at hindi diniklara. Yan ang ano dyan. Yan yung papaul kayo dyan. Kasi kung meron na ill-gotten wealth si Vice President Inday Sara, meron na kayong ebidensyang pinapakita. Pero wala kayong ebidensyang pinapakita. Ang gusto lang ninyo, buksan lang yung tax record ni Inday Sara at ni Man Scarpio. Ang tawag dyan, fishing expedition. O ito, pakinggan natin yung abogado ng prosecution dahil umiyak ko ito. Sinabi kasi ng abogado ni Inday Sara, hindi kayo tumutulong eh. Pumunta lang kayo dyan. Tapos umalis. Ito, pakinggan natin.
Ayaw na ho namin sanang patulan pa itong mga pag-spread pa ho ng fake news so we could go on to discuss yung more substantive matters. Yung home issue na yun that they didn't have enough personnel, that came from the defense. No? Nung Monday, they admitted that they lacked necessary personnel to accommodate yung gustong arrangement with respect to how many marking teams there will be.
Mula naman sa 4, ngayon 6 teams na ang nakatoka sa pagmamarka ng mga documentary evidence. Nagbabalik.
Ayan na mukhang sabog din yung abogado ng prosecution team, no? Sama-sama na talagang mga bangag. Totoo naman talaga ang sinasabi ni ng abogado ni Inday Sara, si Luistro. Hindi ikaw, sir. Si Luistro daw, pumupunta lang dyan, magpa-press-con lang, harap sa media, tapos umuwi na, umaalis, at hindi tumutulong sa pagmarkings ng evidence. Ayan yung tinutukoy, sir. Iyakin naman. Ito, pakinggan po natin si Attorney Harry Roque. Mamaya na itong si Mary Grace Piatos kasi isasama daw nila na witness si Mary Grace Piatos. Pakinggan po natin si Attorney Harry Roque patungkol sa presiding officer. Kasi nga, ang sinabi nila ay si Chis Escudero daw ang gawin nilang presiding judge. Pero illegal daw yan, sabi ni Attorney Harry Roque. Pakinggan natin.
All possible witnesses of the prosecution were listed already in our PTB, no? Pre-trial brief as to who these witnesses are. Let us all wait for the issuance of the pre-trial order sapagkat kahit nalista yan sa PTB, kung hindi naman ma-incorporate sa pre-trial order, then that will not be binding.
Tikumpa ang bibig ni House Lead Prosecutor at Batangas 2nd District Representative Jervy Luistro sa kung sino-sino ang mga partikular na testigong ipepresenta ng prosekusyon para sa paglilitis kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Ito ay hanggat hindi pa nailalabas ng Senate Impeachment Court ang pre-trial order. Gayunman, nakakuha ng kopya ng pre-trial brief ng prosecution team ang UNTV News mula sa isang katiwa-tiwalang source. At batay sa dokumento, kabilang sa mga testigong ihaharap ng prosekusyon laban sa Vice Presidente ay ang Chief of Staff ng kanyang tanggapan na si Undersecretary Soleika Lopez. Si Attorney Lopez ay gagamitin upang patunayan ng umano'y maling paggamit ni VP Sara ng kanyang confidential funds. Isang hostile witness para sa prosekusyon si Lopez. Bukod naman sa OVP Chief of Staff, kumpirmado rin bilang testigo ng prosekusyon ang isang recipient ng confidential funds ng Office of the Vice President na si Mary Grace Piatos. Walang anumang tala sa Philippine Statistics Authority si Mary Grace Piatos.
Well, mahalaga po yung Mary Grace Piatos kasi nasa sentro siya eh. Nung pong kontrobersiya, nung pong paggamit ng confidential funds, no? Yung existence or non-existence po ni Mary Grace Piatos, yung pong smoking gun, kung talaga nga bang tama o mali, yung pong paggamit ng confidential funds.
If ever nakasama, if ever lang, no? Because we do not want to dwell on the witnesses to be presented, I am sure that it will be significant in proving the prosecution's case, no? If ever nakasama si Mary Grace Piatos.
Mga testigo para sa article of impeachment na confidential funds misuse, sina Lopez at Mary Grace Piatos. Gayun din ang self-confessed bagman ni VP Duterte na si Ramil Madriaga at isang nagnanalang Richard Babagay upang i-corroborate, patunayan at patibayin ang mga alegasyong ibinabato sa pangalawang Pangulo. Bukod dito, testigo rin ng prosekusyon si dating overall Deputy Ombudsman Melchor Arthur Carandang para naman ito sa article of impeachment na hindi maipaliwanag na kayamanan ng Vice Presidente.
I'm sure you have listened to the testimony of former Senator Trillanes, and there was mentioned in his testimony before the Committee on Justice of the role or participation of Atty. Carandang.
Layo ng gagawing pagpresenta sa paglilitis ng prosekusyon sa dating ombudsman official na patunayan ang ginawa nitong investigasyon sa bank accounts at transactions ni VP Duterte at ama nitong si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Gayun din upang matukoy ang resulta ng ginawa nitong investigasyon, pinatawan ng dismissal ng Administrasyong Duterte si dating overall Deputy Ombudsman Carandang noong 2018 matapos nitong ihayag ang ginawa nitong bank investigation kay dating Pangulong Duterte. Pero kalaunan, nagdesisyon ng Korte Suprema na walang otoridad si dating Pangulong Duterte para i-dismiss si Carandang. Samantala para naman sa article na matinding pagbabanta at inciting to sedition, kabilang sa ipepresentang testigo ng prosekusyon ay si Abby Andres, ang court sheriff na nasaktan ni VP Duterte ng alkalde pa ito ng Davao City sa kasagsagan ng kaguluhan sa demolisyon ng mga bahay sa lungsod. Layo nitong patunayang may kakayanan o tendency umano si VP Duterte na gumamit ng karahasan.
Kabilang si Mary Grace Piatos at dating overall Deputy Ombudsman Melchor Arthur Carandang sa matutunog na pangalang kabilang sa 57 testigo na nais ipresenta ng House Prosecution Team sa napipintong impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa darating na July 6. Ayon kay Attorney Michael Powa, tagapagsalita ng defense team, desisyon ng prosecution kung isama si alias Piatos at Carandang sa kanilang listahan at kahit sino man umano ang iharap na witness ay handa nilang isalang sa cross-examination.
Wala naman po. Sa amin naman po, yan naman prerogatiba ng prosecution kung sino yung mga witnesses nila. So definitely if they're presented, we will be ready to cross-examine them.
Lumutang ang pangalang Mary Grace Piatos na isa sa pinagdududahang tumanggap ng bahagi ng confidential funds ng BICE batay sa 158 acknowledgement receipts na isinumite ng Office of the Vice President sa Commission on Audit upang ipaliwanag ang paggastos ng 125 million pesos sa loob ng 11 araw. Habang si Carandang naman ang na-dismiss na Deputy Ombudsman noong 2018 matapos ihayag ang kanyang ginawang bank investigation sa ama ni VP Sara na si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Kabilang rin mismo si Attorney Powa sa mga inilistang testigo ng prosekusyon bilang dating opisyal sa Department of Education at Office of the Vice President. Paliwanag ni Powa, walang problema sa kanya kung kabilang siya sa witness list kahit parte pa siya ng defense team ni VP Sara.
Pwede naman because lalo na kung ang tatanungin naman nila ay matters that are not pertaining to my role as counsel to Vice President. Wala naman sigurong problema. And if they really wish to call me as a witness, katulad ng ginawa nila sa Committee on Justice, hindi ba? Wala naman tayong problema doon.
Hindi naman ito kinupirma kung aaten si VP Sara oras na gumulong na ang mismong paglilitis. Ngunit bahagi umano ito ng kanilang legal strategy na hindi maaaring i-disclose sa publiko. Hindi rin naman anya kailangan na dumalo pa ang bise sa pre-trial dahil hindi naman ito obligasyon ng kanilang kliyente. Tiniyak rin ito na araw-araw niyang nakakausap si VP Duterte patungkol sa progreso ng pre-trial conference.
Kasi parati nating sinasabi na hindi humaharap si Vice President, but what we're doing now is pagharap sa mga alegasyon, hindi ba? What you're pushing for is a physical appearance. But the physical appearance, for example, the pre-trial stage, hindi naman siya kailangan talaga nandito. Ano naman ang gagawin niya dito, di ba? Kung nandito man siya. So, ang sa atin, kung dumating yung circumstance na kinakailangan niyang humarap, we will be the ones to advise our client na kailangan niyang humarap. At doon natin malalaman kung haharap siya o hindi, physically.
Samantala, inaasahang isusumite bukas ng defense team ang kanilang komento patungkol sa manifestation ng prosecution panel. Kabilang sa manifestation, ang hiling na mabuksan ang selyadong kahong naglalaman ng tax records ng BICE at ng kanyang asawang si Attorney Man Scorpio. Ayon sa defense team, anuman ang magiging kahihinatnan ng naturang BIR box, ito ay magbabatay sa magiging pasya ng Senate Impeachment Court.
I will not preempt talaga po. No? I know you're wanting an answer, but please be patient with us. There are official ways of doing this and formal ways of doing this. Ang gagawin namin, we will file a comment by tomorrow.
Aga-ayon kay Attorney Powa, kaninang hapon optimistic sila dito sa ginagawang pre-trial conference ngayon sa Senado at sa inaasahang pagtatapos nito ngayong araw. Sunod namang hihintayin ng defense team yung ilalabas na pre-trial order ng clerk of court kung saan kakailangan na rin nilang magsumite ng komento patungkol dito. At after ng stage na yon ay ang formal na paghahanda ng defense team para sa inaasahang trial proper ng impeachment ng Vice Presidente.
Patunay ba ito? Ito ba'y senyales na yung mga may ingay,
Teka
wala,
lang. Ito.
lumulutang po yung pangalan ni Senator Chis Escudero na posibleng maging presiding officer. Nakikita niyo po ba na naayon ito sa batas, lalo na pinasa nila yung para sa rules, pagbabago ng rules, noong merong question sa leadership ng Senado attorney?
Well, tama ka dyan, no? Dahil yung rules ay naamendahan ng peking Senado, no? At malinaw naman na kung sino talaga ang Senado ng mga panahon na yon. Dahil nung nagkaroon sila ng numero, tsaka lang nila hinalal itong si Sherwin Gatchalian bilang Senate President, sa tingin ko, kinakailangan muna na magpasa sila ng panibagong amendment to the rules para mawala ang duda kung valido ba nga yung ginawa nilang amendment to the rules na magtatalaga ng iba pang presiding officer bukod pa sa Senate President. Pero sa tingin ko, pagkamat tahimik ang lengguwahe ng ating saligang batas kung sino magiging Senate President, yung tradisyon ng Senado at saka yung intention ng Senado, dapat yung namumuno sa Senado ang magiging presiding officer. Ang tanong, kaya ba yung gawin na isang hindi abogado? Well, ang punto ko naman, dapat bago sila pumili ng Senate President, kinonsidera nila yan na isa sa magiging katungkulan ng Senate President ay pagiging presiding officer ng Senate Impeachment Court.
O ayan, mapilitan ka ngayon na Win Gatchalian na ubob. Presiding officer dahil ang lakas ng amats mo magiging gusto mong maging Senate President. Pero hindi mo inisip yung malaking tungkulin mo dyan sa impeachment trial na ikaw yung magiging presiding officer. So hindi po pwede na hindi si Win Gatchalian. Hindi po pwede na si Chis Escudero. Kailangan yung Senate President ang magiging presiding officer na magmukha kang tanga dyan with Win Gatchalian. Wala namang alam sa batas. Di ang gawin na lang para hindi mapahiya ang Senado kay Win Gatchalian, kusa na lang siyang bumaba sa pagka-Senate President. At mag-elect muli sila ng Senate President. Magregodon muli. Kasi pag si Win Gatchalian ang maging Senate President, alam naman natin merong impeachment trial. Ano po ang kahinatnan ng impeachment trial pag siya po ang magiging presiding officer? Wala, labo-labo yan. Kasi wala naman siyang alam sa batas, wala siyang experience sa batas. Hindi mag-elect na lang kayo ng Senate President na abogado at alam maging presiding judge. May-elect na lang si Escudero kung gusto nyo. Kung ayaw nyo kay Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. Kung gusto nyo si Senator Marcolita na lang mag-presiding judge. Lalong iiyak. Kasi ilan lang naman ang abogado dyan. Si Kiko Matching. Wala namang gusto magiging Senate President si Kiko Matching. It is Escudero. Pia Cayetano. Alan Peter Cayetano at si Rodante Marcolita. Yan lang naman yung mga abogado. So dapat yan sila ang pagpipilian na magiging Senate President. So ikaw, Win Gatchalian, huwag ka nang magiging ipal, mag-resign ka na lang para sa ikakabuti ng institusyon po ninyo. Kasi wala kayong experience sa impeachment. Kagaya dito sa prosecution team, wala naman ding experience ang mga yan sa trial. Yung mga abogago nila. Si Kapunan, pero may experience ba si Kapunan pagdating sa impeachment? Pakinggan po natin si Attorney Harry Roque na tsak, lalamunin lang din po sila ng depensa O ito, pakinggan natin.
Patunay ba ito? Ito ba'y senyales na yung mga may ingay, wala talagang sapat na ebidensya? Hindi mabigat yung dala-dala nilang ebidensya, attorney?
Sa totoo lang kasi, yung mga nagsasalita sa mga prosecution, wala naman talaga mga sapat na karanasan yan sa paglilitis.
Diba?
Yang si Luistro, yang si Leila de Lima,
Ridon.
yang si Adjong, hindi ko naman nakikita mga pagmumukhaan dyan sa hukuman. No? At almost 40 years ako na maharap sa mga hukuman, araw at hapon. No? So sa tingin ko, yung mga deklarasyon nila at mga astan nila ngayon, yan ay patunay sa kawalan ng karanasan. Kaya aasahan natin na kung uusad ang kaso ng prosecution, talagang sasandalan nila ang mga private prosecutors dahil wala talagang ibabat-bat itong mga kongresista. Kaya nga siguro sila naging mga kongresista dahil ayaw nila mag-practice ng batas.
Opo, hindi po ba sa labanan sa korte, attorney, pag nakikita mo ang kalaban mo ay gumagawa ng mali, which is parang ganito yung nakikita ng prosecution, kung pagbabatayin yung kanilang mga pahayag at opinion, hindi ba pababayaan mo kasi bentahe yan sa part mo?
Well, una-una, hindi naman ako sigurado na tamang sinasabi nila sa nakikita nilang mali. Kasi nga, ang obvious na obvious, kulang sa karanasan itong mga kongresista na tumatayong prosecutors. No? Mabuti pa sana, hayaan na nila magsalita yung mga private prosecutors kasi yung mga private prosecutors mas bihasa pagdating sa litigation. No? Pero sa ngayon, parang hindi ko nakikita ang kakayahan ng mga congressman prosecutors at lalong-lalong hindi ko nakikita ang kanilang karanasan sa litigation.
Opo, tsaka yun din yun na
Walang mga
napansin
alam.
namin na yung mga nagsasalita sa defense team, yun nga, puro mga ano yan, sa private din yan. Wala din tayong naririnig, mas maingay yung mga politiko na prosecutor po, attorney, at parang hindi nagsasalita or baka ayaw nila matakpan yung kanilang moment na magsalita, attorney.
Well, sa tingin ko, kasi itong mga congressman prosecutors mas interesado na maging senador. At sa tingin nila, itong pagiging prosecutors nila ay pamamaraan para sila ay maging senador. Hindi naman nila alam na dahil nga sa popularidad at tiwala ng taong bayan kay BP Sara, lalong hindi sila magiging senador dahil tumayo silang mga prosecutor dyan ngayon sa impeachment ni BP Sara.
Ito bang mga ganito, yung mga pagpapahayag ng, kumbaga, sinasabi nila, mga propaganda, ay dahil itong issue na ito, hindi lang sasalang sa impeachment court, kundi maging sa court of public opinion, attorney?
Well, totoo yan, no? Dahil itong impeachment ay sui generis, it's not purely judicial, it's not purely political. Pero kinakailangan naman nakabase sa ebidensya. Kasi kung sila naman ay mag-iimbento lamang at hindi talaga gagamit ng ebidensya, hindi nila mapapatunayan din ang pagkakasala ni BP Sara dahil nag-a-apply pa rin on a supplementary basis ang rules of court dyan sa impeachment proceedings. At syempre, kapag nalabag ang karapatan ng akusado, maski ito ay hindi formal na hukuman, kinikilala pa rin ang saligang batas, yung tinatawag nating due process rights ng ating impeachable officer na si VP Sara.
Okay. Yes. For the office of the Vice President, it's not the first time that the office was granted confidential funds. During the time of Vice President Binay, the office was already given confidential funds. The confidential funds we use in relation to our work and national security. All the projects and the programs of the Office of the Vice President target poverty alleviation. There is a direct correlation between poverty and national security. So what we do is we want to target the areas where we put our projects so that we achieve peace and order, security. So we don't want to our projects put in areas where it is not needed for poverty alleviation. So we want to prioritize the areas. And the only way to do that is to use confidential funds to purchase information. So where are the target areas? We need that so that our projects will serve these areas. So that's why we needed the confidential funds. In the Department of Education, there is a correlation as well of the education and national security. In fact, that is one of there is a correlation as well of education and national security. There are so many threats to education, not just insurgency, and threats to Department of Education personnel and students as well. And we wanted to target projects of the Department of Education as well in the most vulnerable areas and schools. That is why we needed confidential funds. It's all about national security. And the position of the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education is that national security is a holistic concept. It's not just one, territorial defense, sovereignty. No, national security is about food security. It's about quality of education. It's about poverty alleviation and everything else that we need to do as a country to get us out of this poverty rut. In the NDF-ELCA, they are only about, ano yung meaning ng ELCA? And local armed conflict. And local, there, ELCA. So that is very specific to that, local conflict and communism. So, as I said, the projects and the programs of OVP target poverty alleviation, and there's so many factors affecting poverty. And there are so many threats to education, not just insurgency. Yes, that is true, but we work far faster if we are allowed to purchase information and target our projects immediately on the certain school or certain barangay or certain municipality. We move faster if we can target our projects, confidential funds, because it will entail explaining intelligence operations. And there is a law that prohibits officials who gathered information because of their office to divulge it in public. So it's the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. There is a specific provision of law. You cannot divulge confidential information that you received while in office.
So you won't even say these are
No, that's
just
because
code names.
that will add to cases that may be filed against me. Wait, hold on. I can answer. I can give you a very short answer with regard to ARs. I had nothing to do with the preparation of ARs. It went down to the grassroots level. So I had nothing to do with preparations of ARs. I was up here in the structure and money went down for information. In the first place, we do not even know if these are ARs which came from DepEd or OVP to COA, because there's a chain of evidence supposedly. In law, there's a chain of evidence, handling of evidence. So right now, nobody can really answer that because nobody knows if these ARs are true. Because we don't know if it came from us.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're alleging.
Yes, that's what they're
ARs
saying.
came from the OVP, submitted to COA.
Yes, but there is a legal process in the custody of evidence. So right now, we really cannot say if the ARs came from us, because the ARs that are with us has not been checked with the ARs that are with them.
You're denying that the ARs came
No,
from
I'm just saying that we do not even know if the ARs with us are the ARs that are with them, because the ARs from the field, going to the office, going to COA, that's not how you do legal work. It's not how you do legal work. There's a very stringent process in evidence. That is why even if there is no law prohibiting a person from divulging confidential information, person cannot answer that because we do not know if that paper that they're holding was a paper that came from the OVP and DepEd. Because there was no marking of exhibits. That was what I was telling Congressman Chua. You cannot ask the OVP personnel to say yes or no to an exhibit that was not marked as real and true, as correct, and as a faithful reproduction of the evidence of the office.
So would your offices then be willing to certify it?
No, because there is no question about that from the Commission on Audit. It's only a congressman saying that this paper and asking what is this paper about. There is no case, and that is to ask that about the paper is the sole jurisdiction of the Commission on Audit.
Okay. So then if the Commission on Audit asks,
That is what I was saying. We have been fully cooperative with the Commission on Audit. Everything that they asked for, we submitted. That is why there was a partial disallowance only. And even then, we are not yet finished with the process because we can still submit documents that are required by the Commission on Audit. That is the problem right now. As I said, they are doing work that they are not that is not under the mandate of the House of Representatives. They cannot audit. They cannot question at all. They cannot make me answer and say that we represent the taxpayers and you have to answer. No, I will only answer to the Commission on Audit because that is the body who can ask us questions about the fund use.
next question, Kat Domingo, ABS-CBN.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, on the issue of your budget not being reinstated or restored, your reaction first on the decision of the bicameral conference committee.
Well, we do not expect anything about the budget of the Office of the Vice President anymore. As I said, before I was saying that I am not the problem. I've been saying that I'm not the problem. The problem of the Philippines is kahirapan, kagutuman, corruption, and all the other peace and order issues. But it is clear right now that they consider me as the problem already. So I will not help them solve the problem.
Ma'am, a follow-up question. It's nearly January already. Your office will be filing a new budget request for 2026. How much do you intend to ask from Congress for 2026?
We've not discussed that. We need to wait for the budget call because the budget call outlines the rules of your proposal for budget for your office. So we need to read the budget call before we can sit down and discuss a budget proposal for the Office of the Vice President.
Ma'am, but top of mind, are you still considering to hike the 733 million or will you be happy operating at the same expenses in 2026?
I cannot answer that because there are rules. They usually put conditions in the budget call and we really need to read the budget call to draft a proposed budget.
Last two questions.
Well, just to follow up on the budget, in the previous interviews, you said that you cannot give a definite answer on what will happen with regards to your satellite offices, given that the budget was not final at that time. But given that the BICAM already decided not to reinstate your original proposal of 2 billion, what will happen to your satellite offices? There are around, I think, 10 satellite offices across the country.
Yes, well, Well, we have to see if we can continue with the projects that they are implementing. We need to see if the projects are still there, and then if they can still implement the projects. So that is something that we have to discuss with the execom of the Office of the Vice President.
Ma'am, nandun po ba yung possibility of shutdown? And then ano po yung nasabihan na po ba yung mga affected personnel just in case na magsha-shutdown nga po mga satellite offices?
Galing sa central office ng Office of the Vice President, wala kaming sinabi sa kanila. Pero since nababasa naman nila sa media yung nangyayari sa budget, I am sure that they are preparing themselves as well. Yes, wala pang update doon sa pull-out and replacement. Nag-aantay kami sa Armed Forces of the Philippines kung kailan nila gagawin yon. Yes, nagpadala ako ng letter sa Chief of Staff ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Meron lang ako mga nilatag doon na mga requests. Pinakauna doon is hindi na kami tatanggap, hindi na ako tatanggap ng replacements. So kung magtanggal sila, hindi na nila i-replace. Iwan na lang nila kung ano yung maiwan. And kung wala mang maiwan dahil tatanggalin nila lahat, I already said that I will seek security arrangements outside of the Armed Forces of the Philippines already. Yes, we are exploring private security services. Yes. So, my husband.
Would that be construed as a private?
No, because there are professional security services. So that's not considered as a private army. And I do not know if these individuals are allowed to bring guns. So that makes them less of an army, ma'am, kung wala silang. But hindi ko alam yung sa professional security services. But that is one option that we are preparing for in case there is a pull-out of the entire security detail from the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Initially, I asked my husband, and then he said that he'll make arrangements.
Out of pocket na? How much are you estimating for that?
Well, wala pa kaming we have not requested for proposals yet from service providers. We have not requested a proposal yet. So, but I think only Filipino organizations or agencies are allowed that kind of service within the Philippines. I think, Mama. I do not know. But I know that they are Filipinos. Yes.
Do you feel secure about
No, I don't.
children?
No, ma'am. No. But no, I do not feel secure. As I said, that there's always been bias because when you see, say for example, DOJ, iniimbestigahan nila yung presscon. Pero hindi nila iniimbestigahan kung bakit kami umabot doon sa presscon na yon. Iniimbestigahan nila ang threat ko, no? Pero they've not ever investigated threats against me, which are all documented, but we do not give them the information because we don't trust them at all. Yes, we have documents, sir. We have screen caps, we have photos, we have police blotters, we have everything on file. But I never talked about it before because I felt na it was part of my job as Vice President. You get that? Diba? So, and it does not affect my work. So, all the more that it was inconsequential for me at the time. But right now, seeing that they are picking out words that I said and making a case out of it and saying that these are threats, So I think they should start with, where is this coming from? That is the question that they should ask themselves. But I don't think they'll ever ask that of themselves. So we'll just move on to the cases and the impeachment and whatever will come. At no, ma'am, buti na yung alam nila, ma'am, na pag namatay ako, hindi talaga ako, I will not die in vain. So, yes, that is what they are trying to do, turn public opinion. That is a common strategy in politics. Black propaganda and everything. Will it hurt my chances? I'm not yet a candidate. So, right now, I am just the Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines and working for the country. So I am not yet a candidate, so I do not know if this will affect me. Maybe my decision in 2026 will consider what is happening right now, but I cannot really say with finality what will be the considerations for me to decide to run for president. As I said, just give me the last quarter of 2026. I think that is the best time for any presidential candidate to decide to run. Yes, oo, yan naman ang sinasabi ko eh. It's all, these are all political attacks. From the attack from the left on the confidential funds, the meeting with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the attack on the budget, and the other attacks that you see in social media. So these are all directed to remove me from the race, yes, and then of course remove me from office. Ay, that needs a sit down. Ay, naku. Ay, talaga. Sasabihin ko sa'yo, you know, paano ko nalaman na gusto ni na plano or gusto ni Martin Romualdez na mag-president? Ay, naku. Halaga. Sasabihin ko sa'yo. And this is personal knowledge. Kasi narinig ko talaga. I was there. So, kaya alam ko sa simula pa lang, nung narinig ko yun, okay. Wala lang din sa akin yon. Kasi lahat naman pwedeng tumakbong presidente. Diba? Ang hindi ko lang in-expect, yung gagamitin mo yung buong gobyerno para sirain yung isang tao. Yan din. Kailangan magdesisyon ng taong bayan. Gusto niyo ba ng Vice President Martin Romualdez? Yan ang tanong. Kasi, yan naman kasi talaga yung plano niya. So, kailangan mag-decide ng taong bayan if you want somebody sitting there na hindi ninyo binoto. No, I'm at peace. I'm at peace with whatever happens to me. I've already accepted that whatever happens to me, that will be God's purpose for my life. So I am at peace staying and finishing my term because that is my contract with the Filipino people, and I am at peace going if I will be removed from office. Hindi, ma'am. Ang tinake out nila of context is tinanggal nila yung kung yon at iniwan lang nila yung gusto nilang gamitin. Yun yung sinasabi ko na taken out of context. Dapat when you appreciate the message, you should take all the words together and not just take out the things that you want to use against the person. Yes, sir. Kasi sila din naman yung gumawa nun, sir. Ang sinasabi ko lang naman sa kanila is, kasi sinasabi nila palitan, sir. Mahirap kasi, security is fundamentally a trust and confidence position. So that shows his astuteness in the law. But I feel that he will better serve the country if he remains as a member of the House of Representatives. That is what is important right now We need good public servants, good leaders, good officials in government. And I assure everyone that we already have lawyers helping us. In fact, the moment that Franz Castro announced last year that they are planning to file an impeachment, we already talked to lawyers who will handle the impeachment case at the time. But now, cases pala, 3. So we just need more lawyers. And we already discussed this with the first team that we hired as lawyers. Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. So, very recently, we had a meeting with the lawyers, and what was discussed there was the arrangements, because we needed more lawyers. We are expecting another impeachment case, no? So this may be 3 impeachment cases. So, and then we will await an official copy of the articles of impeachment so that they can prepare the defense. We already have advanced copies of what is filed in the House of Representatives, and they're starting preparatory works right now. No, we're not confident with numbers, ma'am, because impeachment is a legal process and a political activity. So we are confident with the legal aspect of the impeachment because all the lawyers that I asked to review the initial draft of the impeachment complaint really said that this is not, well, I would say it's not an impeachable offense, and this is not an actionable offense, things like that, lawyer talk. But with regard to politics, that is a different matter altogether. So we do not know what will happen with that. Well, that's politics. They always say that there are no permanent friends and enemies in politics. So it really depends on the person, on the politician, what path he will choose. Yes, we have an inventory of possible cases to be filed because right now it's only the 2 impeachment cases that are filed with the House of Representatives. All the other cases, we have a list, we have an inventory, and we have lawyers assigned for each case. Usually, cases that are similar, we assign it to 1 lawyer. And then other cases, we assign it to other lawyers so that we ensure that all the cases have lawyers focused on each case. Hindi pa kami nagkausap ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. I expect na magkikita kami as usual sa December 24 sa bahay ng mother ko. Likely, baka doon namin mapag-usapan yan kung man mapag-usapan namin dahil madalas kasi kapag nagkasama-sama yung pamilya, lalo na pag nandyan yung mga apo, ay yung mga apo yung pinag-uusapan ng pamilya. Nagsabi si Pangulong Duterte na magpapadala siya ng pera para sa pambayad daw ng mga abogado kasi alam niya na napakaraming mga abogado ngayon ang kinuha para sa iba't ibang mga kaso, pero nagsabi na rin ako through my brother, kasi yung kuya ko yung sinabihan niya, nagsabi ako na huwag na lang siya magpadala ng pera dahil nakapaghanda naman na kami para sa impeachment case. Kasi sinabi niya impeachment case. So sabi ko, nakapaghanda kami sa impeachment case. Kasi nga, last year, nag-announce na si Franz Castro ng impeachment. So the moment na sinabi yon, and the moment na nakita namin na tuloy-tuloy yung attacks against me, ay naghanda na rin kami para sa mga abogado. Yes, ma'am, I'm not being evasive. If you are referring to the budget hearing and the hearings in the House of Representatives, I'm not being evasive. I am not answering the questions because they have no authority to ask confidential questions. I am answering questions about the use of the money in the Commission on Audit, and there is no, you ask the Commission on Audit if there was anything at all that they can say or see that we are not cooperative with the audit. So it is wrong to say that I am evasive. I am definitely not answering questions about the use of the fund, about confidential funds, because it pertains to national security and the lives of the people involved in intelligence operations. And yes, as I said, we have fully cooperated with the audit process of the Commission on Audit, who has the sole jurisdiction to ask questions about the use of confidential funds. In fact, 2/4 of the Department of Education are already cleared by the Commission on Audit, but it is still being questioned inside the committee in the House of Representatives. So that is the reason why I am not answering questions from the House of Representatives. Plus the fact that, as I said, it is an attack. It is a political attack. If you are in aid of legislation and you want to legislate about confidential funds, you do not target one office and terrorize and torment the employees of that office. What you do is you do a sampling, a random sampling of the offices who have confidential funds. Why not call the office of the president, who has billions and billions of confidential funds, if you want to legislate about confidential funds? So that shows that they're singling out the office of the vice president. And I really feel that it's very disrespectful to the office of the vice president. That is also why when they ask that I respect their process, respect begets respect. So if they want respect, they should first respect the office of the vice president. That is what I was saying, that they don't like me, they don't like my person, they don't like Inday Sara Duterte, but they have to respect the office of the vice president. So if they want to investigate confidential funds, they don't single out one office. No, I will not explain. I will not give an explanation because it will entail that I explain intelligence operations, which will compromise officers who do intelligence operations. It will really compromise how they work. So no explanation will be given to the members of the House of Representatives. Well, the confidential funds was the first transfer of confidential funds was from the office, from the contingent funds to the office of the vice president, and this was approved by the office of the president. The next year, confidential funds was 2023. We submitted it to the Department of Budget and Management. It was approved by the Department of Budget and Management, and therefore it implies that it was approved by the Office of the President because it was included in the National Expenditure Program, the NEP. So, and then it was approved by Congress as well. The only reason why we did not use the confidential funds in the fourth quarter for both offices because I was already flagged by a friend inside the House of Representatives that they will attack you using confidential funds. So yes, it was duly approved by the Office of the President and both houses of Congress as well, as because it was included in the General Appropriations Act. So it was not we presented it, we defended it, they approved it. We used it, and then the question on utilization is under the Commission on Audit. That is how the system works. They cannot use, or they cannot twist the system according to their personal interests. Really, all these circumstances and events happening surrounding the office of the Vice President is a race to the presidential election in 2028. Unfortunately, they are attacking the office as well. So, dyan ako medyo, and the personnel of the office of the Vice President. So, dyan ako medyo pumapalag. Wala namang problema kung atakihin ninyo ako kasi politiko naman talaga ako. Pero may problema ako pag inatake yung opisina at yung mga kasamahan ko dito sa opisina ng
Target tapusin ngayong linggo ang pre-trial conference sa impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Ayon po kay Senate President Win Gatchalian, posible itong matapos ng Clerk of Court ngayong araw o kaya hanggang bukas. Samantala, ipinauubaya na raw ni Gatchalian sa Clerk of Court kung bubuksan ang box na naglalaman po ng tax record ng Vice Presidente. Mapapatid na hindi mo na ito pinabubuksan dahil sa issue daw ng confidentiality, base po yan sa National Internal Revenue Code. Sa July 6 ang target na pagsisimula ng impeachment trial laban sa Vice Presidente.
Tuloy-tuloy yung pre-trial. In fact, nagulat kami na libo-libo pala yung ebidensya na ipinresent ng both sides, the prosecution and defense. Pero tuloy-tuloy itong pre-trial para maging maayos yung pamamalakad at takbo ng trial proper.
Ayan na, bukas na daw matatapos yung pre-trial conference. Grabe, libo-libo daw ang ebidensya. Pero ito na nga ang sabi nila ay bubuksan na daw yung tax record ni Vice President Inday Sara Duterte. So ngayon, wala naman tayong problema dyan. Kasi ang gusto lang naman nila, propaganda. Kasi, alala nyo po yung box na pag gusto nilang buksan dyan sa Committee on Justice, hindi nila tinuloy dahil madadali sila ng batas. O eto, pabubuksan na daw. Tingnan natin.
Pinabubuksan na po ng House Prosecution Panel sa pre-trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte ang kahong-kahong naglalaman ng kanyang tax records. Posible raw kasi nitong mapalakas ang mga ebidensya laban sa umano'y hindi maipaliwanag na yaman ng Vice Presidente. Yan po ang Express Report ni Mayan Los Baños. Sa ika-4 na araw ng pre-trial conference, may hiniling ang prosekusyon sa Senate Impeachment Court. Buksan na raw ang sinasabing BIR box. Inaasahang laman nito ang tax records ng mag-asawang Vice President Sara Duterte at Attorney Man Scarpio.
So since we are in the marking of exhibits, this is the proper stage na kailangan na rin siguro buksan yan para magkaroon na ng inventory of the contents of that particular BIR box.
Posible raw itong magamit na ebidensya sa impeachment complaint tungkol sa umano'y unexplained wealth ng bise. Matatanda ang hindi binuksan ang box sa pagdinig ng House Justice Committee dahil sa issue ng confidentiality at alinsunod sa National Revenue Code. Pero ayon sa Clerk of Court na si Attorney Renato Bantug, ang impeachment court lang ang makakapagdesisyon kung bubuksan ba ang BIR box o hindi. Kailangan ba mag-convene muna sa impeachment court bago desisyonan yung pagbubukas ng box?
There's no set and definite rule for that, but it's something that I would need to discuss with the Senate President.
Until the impeachment court decides on it, it's not a part of the evidence.
Not yet. Not yet.
Hit naman ni Senate Secretary Attorney Bantug, ayaw niyang pangunahan kung anuman ang magiging desisyon ng impeachment court sa request na pabuksan ang naturang BIR box. Pero kung sakasakali na hindi yan umabot sa pre-trial conference na dapat matapos na ngayong linggo, pwede naman daw markahan ang naturang mga ebidensya sa mismong paglilitis o trial proper na. Sa kabila naman ng tumatagal na pagmamarka sa mga ebidensya, naniniwala ang impeachment court na matutuloy pa rin sa July 6 ang impeachment trial. Samantala, tinabla ng House Prosecution Team ang sinabi ng defense team ni VP Sara na hindi sumasali sa pagmamarka ng mga ebidensya ang mga kongresistang prosecutor.
Stop muna tayo doon kasi gusto ko pong komentuhan lang yung BIR. Alam niyo po, yung tax record ng isang tao, kumbaga yan, huli yan. Hindi basta-basta pwedeng buksan mo yan. Kasi yung mga tax din ni Vice President Inday Sara, ay tax po yan, kinakaltas sa kanya, automatic ng gobyerno. Ang suspitsa ko talaga dyan, kaya gusto nilang buksan ay para lamang makapanira, black propaganda, at gusto lang hatakin lang itong si Mans Carpio. Kasi si Mans kasi, hindi naman yung government employee. Wala naman siyang katungkulan sa gobyerno. Siya po ay private citizen, private individual na nagninegosyo. Kapag yan ay binuksan, palagay ko magkakaroon pa rin po sila ng kaso. Pwede pa rin iakyat sa Supreme Court ni Mans kahit sabihin ng impeachment court na buksan. Unang-una, ano pong kinalaman ni Mans Carpio sa impeachment labang kay Inday Sara? Tandaan po natin, ang pinag-usapan, impeachment labang kay Inday Sara. Hindi impeachment labang kay Mans Carpio. Ngayon, ang sinasabi nila, para daw makikita kung mayroong mga ill-gotten wealth, mga unexplained wealth. Alam niyo po, madaling magsabi ng ganun Pero ang